unpack why Luke Skywalker's fall to the Empire isn't just a what-if gimmick, but a seismic reimagining of Star Wars core. We need to start with one truth. Luke was never just a hero. He was a symbol of hope, built on fragility, a farm boy who lost everything, clinging to Ben Kenobi's stories and Leia's fire because he had no other anchor. So when we ask, what if he embraced the Empire? We're not just twisting a character, we're dismantling the galaxy's belief that good always triumphs and asking, what if the thing we thought was unbreakable broke? Imagine a Star Wars universe where hope is extinguished, where the brightest beacon of the rebellion falls to darkness. What if Luke Skywalker, the boy from Tatooine who was meant to save the galaxy, instead embraced the Empire? We're not just theorizing, we're diving deep into the terrifying reality of a corrupted hero and how his immense power would reshape everything you thought you knew about Star Wars. First, let's confront the lie we often tell about heroes, that they're immune to doubt. Luke's fall doesn't start with a lightsaber duel or a grand betrayal. It starts with a question no one in the rebellion dares to ask: are we sure we're the good guys? Post-Battle of Yavin, the rebellion celebrates destroying the Death Star, but Luke can't shake the faces of the Imperial pilots he killed in the trench. They weren't Sith Lords, they were kids, maybe from Tatooine-like worlds, drafted into a war they didn't choose. Then comes the crate of Imperial rations he finds on a bombed farming colony, labeled for civilians, incinerated by a rebel miscalculation. Leia calls it collateral damage. Luke calls it murder. That's the crack. Palpatine doesn't need to brainwash him. He just needs to feed that doubt. The Emperor's genius here isn't in force, pun intended. It's in familiarity. He doesn't present Luke with a villain's pitch. He presents a parent's one. Your father saw chaos, Palpatine says, his hologram softening. He saw senators let children starve while they argued. The Empire isn't perfect, but it's stable. He sends Luke hollows of rebel soldiers executing Imperial medics, of Leia signing off on a raid that will kill 500 civilians to take out one Imperial officer. Luke wants to reject it. Ben told him, the Force is life, not death, but the evidence gnaws at him. Heroism, he realizes, is a story we tell ourselves to justify the blood on our hands. The Empire doesn't lie about its cruelty. It frames it as necessary. For a boy who's already lost his family to necessary. Violence, the stormtroopers who killed Beru and Owen were just following orders too. That frame sticks. When Luke arrives on Coruscant, Palpatine doesn't make him kill. He makes him belong. A new uniform, black, sleek, no scuffed boots or rebel patches. A crimson lightsaber, not the blue of hope, but the red of purpose. A title, Lord Skywalker. Vader stands in the shadows, his mechanical breath stuttering, because he sees himself in Luke, not the Sith Lord he is, but the Jedi he once was, seduced by the promise of fixing a broken galaxy. Luke's first speech to the Empire isn't about tyranny, it's about unity. The war ends today, he says, and the crowd roars. For a moment, he believes he's saving people. That's the horror of his fall. It doesn't feel like evil. It feels like righteousness. Now let's map the ripple effect, because Luke's choice doesn't just change him, it unravels the entire galaxy. The rebellion, already a ragtag group held together by faith in Luke, fractures. Leia doesn't just lose allies, she loses the brother she just found. She spends nights staring at hollows of him as a farm boy, muttering, this isn't him, because to accept the truth is to accept that hope itself is a lie. Han Solo, ever the cynic, tries to pull her back. He's gone, Leia. Let it go. But Leia can't, so she leads a suicide raid on an Imperial supply ship hoping to talk sense into Luke. It fails. When Luke slams her into a crate with the Force, his voice cold, she sees it. The boy who once begged her for a chance is gone. But here's the catch. Luke hesitates. His lightsaber hovers an inch from Han's throat, and for a split second, his eyes flicker blue, not red. That hesitation isn't a flaw in the villainy, it's the point. Luke's fall isn't complete. He's still fighting himself. Vader notices it too. He finds Luke in the Imperial Palace gardens, staring at Tatooine's star, and says what no one else dares. You're not like them. You're like me, Luke scoffs, but Vader doesn't back down. I thought I was saving Padme. I thought I was saving the galaxy. I was wrong. It's a rare moment of vulnerability from a man who spent decades hiding in armor, and it plants a seed. That night, Luke dreams of Beru and Owen, their farm intact, calling him home. He wakes up sweating, his crimson lightsaber in his hand, and for the first time he asks, what am I saving? The Empire's true test of Luke comes on Endor. Palpatine orders him to burn an Ewok village hiding rebels. No survivors. Luke flies there, his shuttle cutting through the forest, and stands at the edge of the village. The Ewoks are small, fierce, cooking over fires, just like the moisture farmers on Tatooine. A child Ewok waves at him. Luke's lightsaber drops to the ground. He falls to his knees, whispering, "What have I done?" And that's when Vader arrives. Not as Darth Vader, but as Anakin. He removes his helmet, scarred and broken, and says, "It's never too late. Help me stop him." Luke looks up, tears in his eyes, and nods. The crimson blade is gone. When he ignites his lightsaber again, it's blue. Hope isn't extinguished. It was just hiding. But here's the thing about what-if scenarios. They don't just give us dark endings, they make us appreciate the original. In the real Star Wars, Luke resists Palpatine's temptation on the second Death Star. He chooses hope. But in this universe, he chooses doubt. And that choice reveals how thin the line between hero and villain really is. Luke's fall isn't about being evil, it's about being human. He wanted to fix the galaxy so badly that he forgot who he was fixing it for. Palpatine's laughter echoes through Endor's forests as stormtroopers surround them. "Foolish boys," he says. "You think redemption is real?" But Luke and Vader stand back to back, their lightsabers clashing with the stormtroopers, and for a moment, the galaxy holds its breath. This isn't a happy ending. Palpatine is still on Coruscant. The Empire still controls half the galaxy. But Luke is back, not as a symbol, but as a man. A man who made a mistake, who fell into darkness, but found his way back to the light. That's the power of this what-if question. It doesn't just scare us, it teaches us. Hope isn't a given, it's a choice. Luke chose darkness once, but he chose light again. And in that choice, we see the best of Star Wars. Not the lightsabers or the starships, but the idea that even when the brightest beacon falls, we can relight it. Palpatine is still watching. He's not done with Luke. But Luke isn't done with the galaxy either. The war isn't over. The hope isn't gone. It's just starting over this time, with a hero who knows exactly how dark the dark can get. This BA dives into the why behind Luke's fall. His humanity, his doubt, the fragile line between purpose and tyranny, while tying it back to Star Wars' core themes of hope and redemption. If you want to dig deeper into specific angles, like how Leia's leadership shifts without Luke, or Palpatine's manipulation tactics, or adjust the tone to lean darker, more reflective, just let me know. The Shifting Sands of Fate is to rewrite the very DNA of Luke Skywalker's story, not as a linear what-if, but as a study of how small, pivotal cracks in his early life could redirect the galaxy's fate entirely. Star Wars has always framed Luke's heroism as inevitable, a farm boy, orphaned by the Empire, guided by a wise Jedi, and bound to save the day. But fate, here, is not a straight line. It's desert sand, shifting under the weight of broken mentors, early manipulation, and a first lesson in power that's not about balance, but domination. We're not just reimagining Luke's path, we're asking, what if the people, timing, and truths that turned him into hope never existed? The Shifting Sands of Fate Star Wars' greatest trick is making us believe Luke Skywalker's rise was written in the stars. But the Shifting Sands of Fate peels back that myth, revealing 3 critical pivots that could have turned the boy from Tatooine into a weapon of the dark side long before he ever held a blue lightsaber. Let's dig into why each shift isn't just a tweak but an earthquake. It doesn't change what Luke becomes, but why. And in that why, we see how fragile heroism really is. First, let's step beyond Owen and Beru. Their deaths are often framed as Luke's origin story trigger, the moment he leaves the farm, angry and ready to fight. But what if the trigger wasn't their loss, but the man who told him about it? A less than heroic Obi-Wan Kenobi isn't just a flawed mentor, he's a man broken by his past, and Luke becomes his chance to fix it. Imagine Obi-Wan not as the quiet guardian hiding Luke from Vader, but as a Jedi drowning in guilt. Guilt over failing Anakin, guilt over the Clone Wars, guilt over letting the Empire rise. When he finds Luke after Owen and Beru's murder, he doesn't say, "You must learn the ways of the Force to protect others." He says, "Your father is Darth Vader, the man who killed your family, who destroyed the Jedi. You're the only one who can make him pay, or become what he is." This Obi-Wan doesn't shield Luke from the dark side. He weaponizes his grief, framing Vader not as a warning, but as a destiny. Luke, reeling from loss, doesn't hear choice, he hears purpose. Owen and Beru's death was a tragedy, but a bitter Obi-Wan turns that tragedy into a path straight to Vader. No more trust the Force, now it's use the Force to avenge. And that's the first sand shift. Luke's moral compass isn't just missing, it's been replaced by someone else's rage. Then comes the Emperor's whisper. And timing here is everything. In the original story, Palpatine doesn't fix his gaze on Luke until after Alderaan, until Luke proves himself a threat by blowing up the Death Star. But what if Palpatine senses Luke's power earlier, when Luke is still just a kid, fixing droids in Mos Eisley, staring at the twin suns and wondering if there's more? Palpatine doesn't send stormtroopers or Sith Lords to Tatooine, he sends whispers. A hologram that appears in Luke's room at night, the Emperor's voice soft, almost fatherly. I can feel you, boy. That restlessness, that power. The Jedi would hide it from you, call it dangerous, but I see it for what it is, your birthright. He doesn't talk about the Empire or rebellion, he talks about Luke's loneliness, about how Owen and Beru hold him back, even if they love him, about how the galaxy doesn't need another farmer. It needs someone who can shape it. Palpatine's genius is never in force, it's in familiarity. He preys on Luke's desire to matter, planting seeds long before Alderaan burns. By the time Obi-Wan shows up, bitter or not, Luke has already heard a voice that tells him his power isn't a burden, it's a gift. The Emperor doesn't corrupt Luke in a day, he corrupts him in small nightly conversations, until Luke starts to question why Obi-Wan wants him to restrain what feels like his only true self. This is the second sand shift. Luke doesn't choose the dark side because he's angry. He chooses it because it understands him. Palpatine doesn't make him a villain. He makes the dark side feel like home. But the most seismic shift? A different mentor. An Inquisitor, not Obi-Wan, finding Luke first on Tatooine. Let's be clear, Inquisitors aren't Jedi with a dark streak. They're survivors, former Jedi, who chose the Empire to live, trained to hunt their own kind, and taught that the Force is a tool of control, not connection. Imagine an Inquisitor, say, the fifth brother, his orange lightsaber humming tracking a stray Jedi signal to the Lars homestead. He finds Luke, 16, lifting a fallen moisture vaporator with the Force, panic in his eyes. The Inquisitor doesn't attack. He smiles. You're doing it wrong, he says. Not with fear, with focus. Let the Force bend to you. He teaches Luke to move rocks, then to disarm a Tusken Raider, then to make a stormtrooper drop his blaster all without a word about balance. The Jedi lied about weakness, the Inquisitor says, as Luke stares at his hands, amazed at his own strength. Weakness is letting others tell you what to do. Strength is taking what you need. This isn't mentorship, it's indoctrination. Luke doesn't learn to respect the Force, he learns to dominate it. When Owen and Beru find out, they try to send Luke away, but the Inquisitor is already in his head. They're scared of you, scared of what you could be. So Luke leaves voluntarily, not because his family is dead, but because his mentor has shown him a world where he's not just a farm boy, he's powerful. This is the third sand shift. Luke's first lesson in the Force isn't about hope, it's about power. And once you learn that, Obi-Wan's trust the Force sounds like a cage. Now, let's tie these shifts together, because they don't work in isolation. A bitter Obi-Wan gives Luke a reason to seek Vader. Palpatine's early whispers give him a reason to doubt the light. An Inquisitor gives him the tools to act on both. Imagine Luke, 18, standing in front of Vader on Coruscant, not as an enemy, but as a seeker. I want to learn, he says. Vader's mechanical breath hitches. He recognizes the power, the anger, the hunger. Palpatine stands behind them, smiling. He's ready, the Emperor says. Luke's lightsaber ignites crimson, not because he's been tricked, but because he's chosen it. He doesn't fight the Empire, he joins it. He doesn't save Leia, he hunts her. And the galaxy doesn't cheer for a hero? It cowers from a boy who could have been one. But here's the analysis that matters. None of these shifts turn Luke into a monster. They turn him into a victim of his circumstances, of mentors who failed him, of a tyrant who saw his vulnerability, of a galaxy that didn't give him a choice to be good. In the original story, Luke has Obi-Wan's wisdom, Leia's fire, and Han's loyalty to ground him. In this shifting sands world, he has none of that. He has a bitter old man, a manipulative emperor, and a teacher who equates strength with control. That's the tragedy. Luke's heroism wasn't just about his choices. It was about the people who helped him choose well. Could he still find his way back? Yeah, maybe, but the odds are stacked against him. The Inquisitor's lessons would linger. Weakness is letting others hurt you. Palpatine's whispers would echo, you're meant for more than this. Obi-Wan's rage would haunt him, avenge your family. The sand has shifted too much. The path back to light is buried. This is what the shifting sands of fate teaches us. Fate isn't fixed. It's made of small moments, of a mentor's kindness, of a warning heard in time, of a first lesson that power is meant to protect, not conquer. Luke Skywalker wasn't born a hero. He was made one by the people who loved him, guided him, and gave him a reason to fight for good. Take those people away, and the boy from Tatooine doesn't save the galaxy. He becomes the very thing it needed saving from. The sands keep shifting. And in this world, they've buried hope under them.